convinced that we will destroy, unfortunately, a lot of employment. Just think of self-guided cars and all the drivers losing their jobs. Let's look at the bank employees and so on.
If you're left behind, you're facing something far worse, which is to be completely irrelevant. They won't even need you as a serf or as a slave.
Give a type of money that can only be spent for a specific number of reasons. And some worry about that state control or whatever, but like in this particular narrow use case, you want to give checks to individuals to get the economy moving again. Yeah. So if you think of programmable money that expires if you don't spend it.
Uber, Bitcoin, self-driving cars. Combine those three together and you have the self-owning taxi. A car that is a corporation that owns itself, pays for the car lease, the car insurance, and the gasoline from the revenues it makes, giving passengers a ride, and there's not a single human involved in that matter.
Prices, $1 million, $2 million per Bitcoin.
So you open the door to everyone's favorite topic across national TV,
which is
cryptocurrencies.
All right.
And you've had a chance to ask me what I think about cryptocurrencies, and I'm so excited. What do you think about cryptocurrencies?
Well, if you go to Las Vegas and you gamble, because you like gambling, it just gives you pleasure the way other things give you pleasure. Playing golf might give you pleasure, something. If you get pleasure out of it, you allocate a certain amount of your net worth and say, I'm going to take 1 or 2% of my net worth, I'm going to lose it in Las Vegas. Even if you win the first day and you win the second day, you think you're really a genius and you're going to win money, but eventually you're going to lose. So if it gives you pleasure to do the gambling, allocate enough money that you can afford to lose. So with crypto, that was my view for some time. If you get pleasure by watching the screens all day and saying you've just made a lot of money in crypto and so forth, allocate enough so that if you lose it, it's not the end of the earth. I now think that crypto is not going to go away the way some people have thought. And while you can argue it's worthless in some respects, many things that people buy are maybe worthless. I would say that it's clear that many people, and many have a view of libertarian view of life, or a maybe more conservative view of life, and they tend to be liking this kind of thing that's anti-government. The government doesn't control it. They want to have some of their assets and things that the government can't control or know what they're doing. And increasingly, they've lobbied Congress pretty effectively to keep Congress from over-regulating this industry, and I don't think it will be over-regulated. But think about this. If you're a Chinese wealthy person today, you saw what happened to the Russian oligarchs. Their assets were, let's say, more or less confiscated. If China were going to invade Taiwan, I don't know that it will, and you're a Chinese entrepreneur, are you worried that somebody's going to take away your assets? So how can you be sure you're not going to lose everything? Well, if you put some money in something called crypto, where the government doesn't know what you have, you can move it anywhere around the world. It's not going to be devalued by government inflation. It's not the worst thing to put some of your money in. Now, I have not invested in any cryptocurrencies, but I have invested in my family office through companies that service the industry, because I think the industry is not going away anytime soon. And I can't pick which of the 18,000 cryptocurrencies are going to work, but I think the industry is not going away. I also, the final point is, as a general rule of thumb, with some exceptions, if you follow what young people are doing, you're probably going to see economic trends follow. People who are in their 70s don't usually start economic trends, really. People that got involved in internet kinds of things, or smartphones or computers, they tended to be initially in their 20s. And the people who are often very involved with crypto tend to be in their 20s or 30s in some cases. And I interviewed one person in this book who's a little bit older, Mike Novogratz, and he's made a fortune in it, but he's also lost a lot of money too, but he's way ahead. Other people who've made money in this area, I think, are generally younger, but I don't think it's going to go away. Is my general view.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think. And we have David Rubenstein playing the Hegelian dialectic. I don't think crypto is going away. And guys, we know it's not going anywhere. We know it's part of the fourth industrial revolution. He knows it too. So why wouldn't he say that? Because the NWO is going to keep you indecisive. He states that people in their 70s are not creating a new technology. And he's exactly right about that. But who's funding that 20 and 30-year-old who's making the technology? And we see the same old hands, the same old big banks and big corporations funding these young minds. That's why MIT is so important. Now we have Jeremy from Circle talking about moving USD globally. And he says something so important that's going to go over the average person's head. But he talks about internet money, how the dollar is going to compete on the internet. And guys, we know once the fourth industrial revolution is completed, everything is going to be on blockchain. That means that everything is going to be tokenized. We already know in the emerging countries, they're already moving away from fiat, cashless society. And then he says the U.S. is already winning the battle. Is this correct? No. The U.S. is way behind, and it's on purpose. The emerging markets are going to rise in the fourth industrial revolution and lead the way. And we are witnessing the fall of the world reserve currency, the US dollar, and the rise of the digital yuan backed by that digital SDR. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the new world order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Regulation, so that as DeFi expands and starts to touch more and more retail customers and that sort of thing, so that appropriate regulation is in place.
Now, I'm really curious here, who do you think is going to take the biggest lead here and really stepping in and setting the groundwork for the U.S., and how soon do you expect it?
Well, I mean, I think this is a critical issue, and I think there's bipartisan support for this idea that payment stablecoins such as USDC are a critical piece of how the dollar is going to compete on the internet. And the focus of policymakers, regulators like the Fed and Treasury and others is we need to have a clear set of statutes for dollar stablecoins in the United States, both to manage the risks, but also to make it clear that this is a new model for using dollars on the internet. And I think that with that is going to come tremendous legitimacy for not just stablecoins, but for the advancement of digital assets as a core part of the financial system.
Work for the U.S., and how soon do you expect it?
Well, I mean, I think this is a critical issue, and I think there's bipartisan support for this idea that payment stablecoins such as USDC are a critical piece of how the dollar is going to compete on the internet. And the focus of policymakers, regulators like the Fed and Treasury and others is we need to have a clear set of statutes for dollar stablecoins in the United States, both to manage the risks, but also to make it clear that this is a new model for using dollars on the internet. And I think that with that is going to come tremendous legitimacy for not just stablecoins, but for the advancement of digital assets as a core part of the financial system.
Core part of the financial system. And if you think about what's happening in China and hundreds of millions of accounts when it comes to the digital yuan already, very early to really get behind a central bank digital currency. Do you think the U.S. is falling behind?
You know, we like to say that the U.S. is already winning the digital currency space race. Dollar digital currencies are the most widely used digital currencies on the internet today, which says something, which is the preference for the dollar, the power of the open innovation of blockchains, the power of private sector innovation in the space. That's already created a leadership position for the dollar and for the United States. Now what the United States needs to do is codify that and solidify that so that these digital currency dollars like USDC and others that many other firms will likely issue can become the foundation for how financial products and services and payments and commerce are going to work on the internet. And so really, this is an opportunity for the U.S. to seize that existing leadership position.
To interpret that and what that means for currencies around the world in relation to cryptocurrency.
I mean, look, it's a fascinating time from a macro perspective. I'm going to be talking in a few minutes here at Converge with Larry Summers about that macro outlook and about the role of the dollar and what role the dollar is playing, not just in currency markets today, but the role that the dollar is going to play on the internet. I think right now it's a pretty pivotal moment, and I think the structure of the international monetary system is at stake. And there's a new kind of competition that's happening in currencies. And I think, you know, payment stablecoins and this form of digital currency aligns with these kind of changing macro dynamics.
Well,
and so I think these play together.
Give us some more specificity here. What does the future look like? In a world where currencies have been kind of all over the place more recently, a lot of people really worry about the value of what they're holding. So what role very specifically does a stablecoin play, especially outside of the US?
We've seen an incredible amount of adoption of dollar digital currencies like USDC all around the world. The demand for being able to transact in the dollar and using it as a medium of exchange on the internet is very high. I think that says a lot about the strength of the dollar as an international currency. And I think the growth of these networks, the growth of these blockchain networks, the proliferation of more and more of these digital wallets like Robinhood or Coinbase or so many other products that are out there are going to make these kinds of fiat digital currencies even more popular in the world. And I think that's it's a tremendous opportunity for the United States. The past couple of years, you can see that in sort of the growth in USDC. The company is more than doubling in size this year, and we're in the best financial position that we've really ever been in. We are in a registration process with the SEC to become a public company, and we continue to go through that process of becoming qualified to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and hopefully we'll get there in the near future.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.